Hey everyone. Not exactly the return to podcasting that I'd been hoping for, but today is the 28th of July, 2022, and the board has announced suspensions for a few members, apparently. A few people have posted publicly that they've been suspended, presumably indefinitely. Presumably this will be confirmed. They will lose their kangaroo court appeal and be banned for life. And the two people most significantly wrapped up in this are Ben Steger, 7-8-time national champion, current world shoot world champion in production, and another guy who's been going by Practical Shooting Insights, who basically just did the research, was looking into what USPSA was doing, what they were saying, what their actual activity was. He started out like auditing practice score and looking for cheaters and trying to find people with suspiciously high hit factors. But as it sort of became more and more obvious that the rot of the organization went to the top, he shifted his focus, and for that he's earned a lifetime ban. I can't. Like, I honestly didn't think they would do this. There was no part of me that thought it was a realistic scenario that in the modern world you would just go banning members because they made fun of you on the internet. Like, I get it. Mike Foley threatened to do it in 2017, and he could have, right? He was president. The president can write a suspension letter, no problem. But actually getting the board to confirm a suspension over speech on the internet, I just didn't think it would happen. I just have no words. And that's the thing, right? I mean, that's why this podcast has been pretty sparse, is I don't know what to say. And more importantly, I don't feel like there's any point in saying it. I've been busy. I've got a 1.5-year-old. Work has been probably the most interesting that it's been in a long time for me, and it's been that way for a while. And those two things, and sort of just trying to keep up with a little bit of dry fire here and there, and shooting a match or two a month, it's kept me busy. And I just, every time I look at this whole thing and I think, I need to sit down and read the board minutes, listen to the 30 NROI podcasts I've got on my phone, and get caught up and, get informed, I just say nope. Like, I can't bring myself to do it. There's the organization that I know here in North Carolina and in South Carolina and in Virginia, like the area around here that runs matches, the actual USPSA shooters that I know are the best people. Like, they're still doing the best job. I think the sport is in the best place it's been since I've been in it, in this area. I think the matches are better than they've ever been, and the shooters are more motivated, more interesting. Everything's great, but the organization is just consistently decision after decision. I mean, I thought about, before I hit record, I thought about trying to write down a timeline, and I knew if I did that, then it would be midnight by the time I hit record, and this would never get done. So I didn't. But I mean, it's out there, right? I mean, this goes all the way back to Hammergate in, gosh, was it 2016? But when a hammer, changing an external hammer was ruled a minor internal component on a production gun. And I mean, just from there, it's been a slow trickle of bad decisions and mistakes. Obviously, to some degree, it's on the membership for voting to reelect Mike Foley and giving him a second term. But then the board, we thought, was going to do the right thing, and they got him out of there. And we thought, okay, things are going to be better now. And it turned out that it's the actual rot is much deeper. The actual rot is the entire board. I mean, they made a point in the board minutes that they released today of going into executive session to discuss member discipline, as they call it, basically suspending and banning people who have been extremely critical. And don't get me wrong, Steger in particular has been very personally unkind in the last 6 months to a year because he's been trying to get a rise out of them. But the thing you don't do when you're in a position of power is indulge that. He only did it because he thought it would get a rise out of them, and it did. And I mean, to be clear, I think the only people who look bad from this whole thing are the board of directors. I think obviously the leadership of a board of an American organization of American gun owners thinking that the right thing to do is squash people for saying mean things on the internet, like that doesn't, nobody thinks that they're the heroes for this. But anyway, they go into executive session, they discuss all this, and they come out of executive session and they make a point, which is, I don't think, again, I haven't read the bylaws because if I started doing all that research, this podcast would never get out. I don't think they're required to take a roll call vote on this, but they do. And every single area director and the president, 9 votes yes to suspend these people. Not a one of them said, wait a minute, guys. Maybe it's uncomfortable, but we have been elected to positions of service. And so we just have to have a thick skin, try and do better, and take it on the chin. No. Every single one of them said, shit can those guys. Which again is puzzling because kicking somebody out of your organization that they barely shoot anyway, right? I mean, when was the last time Steger shot a Nationals? Kicking someone out of an organization that they barely shoot in anyway, how is that going to stop them from posting on the internet? Right? If anything, the one thing that they had over their heads, this potential suspension, is now gone. Right? So what is there any incentive to, I mean, have any to hold anything back now? There's none. I mean, these guys, they had one bargaining chip and they threw it away. And they, again, they only made themselves look like petty tyrants who are willing to kill the little guys who are speaking up, trying to point out what they're doing wrong. And I mean, I think, you know, obviously the thing that was the most proximate event that tipped all this over was the ridiculousness about asking members to sign a waiver acknowledging that they were violating the law, which, why would you have I mean, every time it came up, oh, you're not really violating the law. You're not really violating the law. Right. Okay. Yeah. If that's what you believe, then why are you asking me to sign a waiver acknowledging it if you don't think it's actually a legal issue? Right. You can tell me one thing, but when your actions say something else, the actions are what you really mean. So clearly they were at least worried that, not that they personally would get caught with illegal mags, but that some member might, and they might try and take down the organization. And so they decided to cover their asses about it. And I mean, it never should have happened. Yes, Cameo looks like a great facility, but drawing that level of attention to it, it was going to cause problems sooner or later. Anyway, I don't want to get into that whole discussion again. Whatever it was, the way it was handled was not good. The fact that they've now moved the match to Talladega, which is not really a suitable venue for Nationals either. The fact that they moved the match tells you that they know that this is an unacceptable risk. So why didn't they move the match for Two Gun? Anyway. So I have, the good news is, so basically everything that I've been doing shooting related since I basically stopped podcasting and trying to, you know, be a voice at the national level, I've been focusing a lot of my energy on running a local outlaw match here in North Carolina. And that match has gone completely gangbusters. It is a hoot every time we do it. We have the one thing that I don't love about it is that we're just because of our space and our timing, we're restricted to running 2 squads of 15, so we can only get 30 people in a night. But the match fills up in an hour, and we get 28, 30 shooters every time. And I'm running it. It's based on another Outlaw Time Plus match that we used to run at another range here in town that got kicked out when the sheriff of the county, when Sheriff Gerald Baker, who just lost his primary, decided that he didn't want the taxpayers of Wake County to have access to the Wake County Public, Wake County Firearms Education and Training Center. Yeah, it was basically a building built for the sheriffs to use during the day. And he said, and then the citizens of the county could come shoot at night, and they had leagues and they had this match. And he said, nope, this is just for us. We don't want you guys doing it. He ended up getting his hand slapped. Now the whole facility is managed by, I think, Fish and Wildlife, but the match is gone. But we sort of revived it at another indoor match, or another indoor range, and we have a lot more freedom there because it's not the government's not involved, and so there's actually a good bit more appetite for doing interesting things, or at least willingness to just kind of let us do our thing. So being an indoor range, we can't have steel, or they don't want us to use anything steel. So we've got a workaround. We've started shooting bowling pins. I made a little rig where you can put a bowling pin on top of a 2x4, knock it off, and that's your knockdown target. And people are loving it. We're getting first time match shooters. We're getting people who've shot USPSA regularly. It really has been an extremely rewarding endeavor to get to put on this match and really try and strike that balance of something that is approachable, where all the shots are attainable by somebody shooting their first match with a SIG P365, which a number of people do. We have some regulars that shoot those, and that's that in my mind, that's the gun that you should be able to finish the match satisfactorily with that gun. And so I don't try and do anything super duper crazy hard. The idea is the challenge comes from letting the shooter make the shots harder by trying to move, trying to shoot early coming into position, trying to shoot fast, that kind of thing. And so it's a 4-stage match once a month, but usually one stage will be some kind of little kind of mind game drill type thing where you go to one position and shoot all body shots, and go to another position and shoot all head shots, or something like that that's just stipulated in the stage brief, the kind of stage that you just can't build under USPSA rules, because you just, in USPSA stage design criteria, you are not allowed just to tell the shooter, hey, go here, do this. USPSA for what it is very good, and I think it's the way that it's a very good rule set for determining national and world champions. But for trying to put on a match at an indoor range, being able to just have a little more control and just say to the shooter, hey, go here, do this, it's beneficial, and you get to do stuff that stretches people and makes them go, I never thought about that. The very first time we used the bowling pin, I actually made it so the stage brief said you had to take the magazine out of your gun, set it down on the barrel, and then you had the one bullet in the chamber to knock down the magazine, to knock down the bowling pin with. And this was inspired by some of the brutality or 2-gun action challenge matches, which will do something like that. Usually they do it with a rifle, and you drop the magazine, shoot the last shot, and that demonstrates that the gun's unloaded, so you can go down range and treat it as unloaded, which is smart for their purposes. But even here, where it was the last shot of the stage, just having it be that pressure. This was the first time anyone had shot this bowling pin, so it was kind of a new, uncertain challenge. Nobody felt complacent about it, and you had one shot to do it with, and a surprising number of people failed. I thought that it was going to be kind of a layup. When you only have one shot, you'll take as long as it takes to get that perfect sight picture and trigger press. But there was the adrenaline and the novelty of it. It definitely got some people out of their comfort zone. And, to me, that's the practical part of practical shooting. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to shoot gamer guns, but, it's also, it is also very rewarding to me to give people who want to train with carry or duty guns, not train with, practice with carry or duty guns, a chance to bring those guns out and see how they actually do on the clock. See, what's the difference? How much better do you shoot with a Glock 19 versus a Glock 34? It might not make as much difference as you would think. And so giving people that opportunity in a smaller scale, to do stuff that honestly USPSA doesn't do. And that's fine. Each sport has its own purpose. But this match, again, whenever I think about having time to invest in something, right? Whether it's trying to read up and be informed and stay in the loop on all the latest drama, and form an opinion, write a blog post, put out a podcast, I can't bring myself to do it. It doesn't feel like there's any point. And I mean, what happened today definitely doubles down on that. It definitely, the feeling that the board is not only not listening, they are actively banning people who speak out and criticize them. I mean, the fact that the presidential runoff election is between Bruce Six, who voted for these bannings, and Yi-Min Lin, who famously before the initial election went on an interview and said, "Yeah, I think we should have codes of conduct and speech codes, and people should be, held responsible for their speech, even outside the match," and compared us to professional athletes, like anybody does this for a living. I mean, it's the level of cluelessness required to even formulate that logical argument in your head is just astounding. And the fact that these two people are our best chances, not our best chances, these are our only options for someone to replace the president. We had one board seat turnover in the recent, two board seats turned over. One is going to someone who seems like he's relatively straight shooting. Frank Rizzi is going to be the new Area 7 director. So, maybe some of these 9-0 votes will become 8-1. But, I mean, so now we wait another year for another 2 area director elections. I mean, it just, the idea of this giant ball of shit rolling downhill and just continuing to pick up speed and just getting worse and worse. I don't know where it ends, and I don't know how it stops. Literally, other than voting every single one of these people off the board and replacing them with people who actually have the best interest of the sport and the members in mind. Like that I mean, that's all I got. And that's a 4-year plan, right? I mean, board members serve 4-year terms. So it's going to be another 3 years until the other 6 seats go up through elections. And who knows if there'll be somebody who can, actually get enough votes in each of the areas. Someone who's usually hardworking, right, is busy focusing on running their own match. I mean, Frank Rizzi, from what I've heard, is busy running his match in New York State of all places, right? So, I mean, this is a guy who is struggling against a pretty strong headwind, I'd have to imagine. But he makes it work, right? He's busy. He's in the trenches. He's doing that. He's got a day job, but, somehow he was able to get the word out and get elected. And, I mean, maybe if we can get 4 more people on the board, some of these things can start to be undone. I'll be honest, I still haven't even, since the whole package of bylaws went through, I keep telling myself that, this is going to be the week. This, so some evening this week, I'll sit down, read all the bylaw changes, and I haven't done it. I can't bring myself to do it because it's just going to frickin' depress me. I mean, I'm talking about getting a majority on the board here, but from, what everybody was saying at the time, there's a whole bunch of stuff that now requires a 3/4 majority of the board. You think that was an accident? No. They want this to be hard for even a small vocal minority to try and have a voice in their organization. And like when I look at the chessboard, right, they have all the power. Like there's nothing we can do. I mean, at best, we can try and vote members out and board of directors members. We can vote them out, one or two at a time, year by year. But unless some of them just decide to resign and go do something else, they're impervious to criticism. They are so convinced of their own genius. And to be fair, they have a number of bootlickers that tell them that they're great. And when they go to local matches, the people that talk to them to their face say they're great. And obviously, banning a few people for speaking out is only going to make people more bootlickers, right? Do you think anybody wants to get a ban for being rude now? I mean, that's the Overton window has shifted. We couldn't ban Tony Cowden, but we can ban these guys. Like, that window has shifted. It is now much more on the table that you will be, if you conduct any kind of rigorous, sustained criticism of the board, you will be banned. That is now on the table, where it wasn't 6 months ago. What is happening? Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, things are good. I feel like I'm not getting to shoot as much as I'd like to. I'm not getting to practice or dry fire as much as I'd like to, but I'm still in it. I still feel like every time I go to a match, I'm learning a few things. I'm still enjoying the slow climb up the hill. I'm not making progress the way I once did. Being a father and all that it comes with the territory, I suppose. But I'm still enjoying the ride. I'm still enjoying being a part of the sport and spreading the larger sport of practical shooting. Like, I can't recommend USPSA as a discipline to people, but I wish that I could have 100 people coming to this match that I'm putting on, because I think it is closer to the spirit of what the sport is supposed to be about for everyday people. So, I'm still as plugged into that stuff as ever, and I'm getting a lot of value out of that. I wish I had the time and the energy and the focus to dig in and to listen to these people and all their backwards, idiotic ideas about how things aren't broken and everybody on the internet's just whiners, and these problems don't really need to be solved, and the new calibration rules are actually really great, if you think about it. And I've been to a number of matches and nobody's complained about them, and just, I mean, on and on. I can't do it. And I know that handicaps me, because I am not an informed member of the, whatever discussion, because I can't bring myself to actually let these people poison hours of my life by trying to understand their stupidity. So that's why I haven't been talking much. I feel like I always tried to hold my podcast to a very rigorous, well-researched standard, and I just can't hit that anymore. I can't bring myself to do it. And I don't really see that changing anytime soon. There was a time when you read some board minutes and they made pretty much sense, because there were actual reasonable human beings voting on the decisions and writing them. And that time is just gone. And I don't see how we get back there without voting every single one of these guys out and putting in someone who will not be such a self-serving douchebag. But North Carolina section match is coming up in a couple of months. It's going to be staff reset as always. We've got a little bit more staff than we were planning for, so it should be running smooth. I'll actually be running chrono for the match and getting a chance to put some of the things that I've talked about on this podcast and on my blog into action, about how I think chrono could be run much, much, much better than the way that it's run now, which, a 4-year-olds could cheat at if they were really dedicated. So, you know, all these local things are good. Like, I actually enjoy shooting. I enjoy the whole hobby more when I just ignore all the national bullshit. And I know that doesn't help you guys. I know that doesn't help the organization. But I don't see how me dragging myself through that would make a difference. I don't see how I'm in a position to do that. So, yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, I don't have any particular inside track to any information. I mean, you know, credit to Practical Shooting Insights for digging up what he could with all public, you know, records and practice score data, and just getting, you know, talking to people and asking questions and getting data from, you know, people who know things. But you know, I mean, I'm sure it's been basically a second job for him doing this, and I don't have the bandwidth to do that. I wish I did. I wish I could help, but I don't see how I can. So here I am. This is the best I can do. So I hope to see, if you're listening to this, I hope to see you out on the range. I hope you can come make a match here sometime. I hope you can put the North Carolina State match on your calendar. It will, I think, definitely be worth the drive. The staff is second to none. The stages are second to none. It's the best match that we can put on, and it's not rocket science. You know, we've talked about how we do it. We've worked through it year after year. It gets better every year, and it's just baffling why a bunch of podunk people in North Carolina can put on a better match than a nationals consistently. I mean, maybe it's because we only have to do one a year, rim shot. But anyway, I hope to see y'all out on the range. If you want to shoot me an email or something, ben@berryshooting.com, that'll get to me. And yeah, sorry I don't have better news or some ray of sunshine to bring, but I think this is just going to be a big ball of suck for a long time. And if it gets better, it'll take a couple of years and a couple of area director elections. And by a couple, I mean 4 or 5. So a lot. But that's where we're at. Talk to you guys next time.